The human mind, capable of conquering obstacles and solving challenges for all mankind. At stake, the future of modern mobility. A field of 42 entries from across the globe. It all comes down to this. The AEM Infrastructure Vision 2050 Challenge Finale. 5 hopefuls remain. Innovators challenging the transportation infrastructure status quo with breakthrough solutions that exceed today's efficiency and safety, each hoping to claim a portion of $100,000 in prizes. Now, the finalists converge in the neon-lit desert of Las Vegas at ConExpo ConAg 2017. The captains of the construction industry meet the innovators of infrastructure at the final stop of this crowdsourced challenge. Will these innovations ignite the imaginations of our esteemed panel of judges? Who will have what it takes to win over the experts and become the next great infrastructure innovator? 5 finalists, 5 visions for future mobility. The AEM Infrastructure Vision 2050 Challenge Finale. Watch the action live now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome distinguished fellow Carnegie Mellon University College of Engineering, Vivek Wadhwa.
Hello and welcome to the Infrastructure Vision 2050 Challenge Finale. I'm your host, Vivek Wadhwa, and I'm really thrilled to be part of this competition. AEM has really put together an amazing competition, and I tell you, this is something which is very close to my heart because I live in Silicon Valley. I research advancing technologies. Everything from artificial intelligence to robotics to nanotechnologies to sensors to all of these amazing technologies that are advancing exponentially. And I research how they're converging and disrupting industries. They're also making it possible to solve the grand challenges of humanity. Literally, the world I live in, I see entrepreneurs building medical devices that cost $1,000 that can do the same things that are done at hospitals. I see entrepreneurs building AI tools which are becoming human-like. I see them building robots. I see them building self-driving cars. And this is happening all across the world. Amazing inventions and scary inventions at the same time. I usually say that entrepreneurs now can do what only governments and big research labs could do before. They can literally disrupt industries and solve major problems. But one thing they can't do is to fix the problems of roads and infrastructure. They can't do the things we're talking about here at AEM. Who can? Well, governments can do it, but governments have no clue. Governments don't understand these exponential technologies. They need guidance. And you know, that's why this challenge that AEM has put together is so personal to me, because what we're doing now is we're bringing in ideas from all over the world, and we're literally crowdsourcing solutions to problems that governments can learn from and implement. So this is why this is really important to me. Now, AEM partnered with HeroX, a crowdsourced competition platform whose mission it is to bring about radical breakthroughs in technology, health, education, economies, and communities for the benefits of humanity. And by the way, this is also very close to me because I know the founders of HeroX. HeroX is a spin-off from X Prize Foundation. We're going to be hearing from Peter Diamandis later on. But Peter's vision is that entrepreneurs can transform the world. Peter recruited me to Singularity University and made me part of the X Prize family. And HeroX is a spin-off from that. The thesis is that when you challenge people to solve problems, they do it. That they're motivated and inspired to change the world. And that's the type of energy you're going to see on stage over here, is entrepreneurs from all over the world challenging the existing norms. And the beauty of it is that it's people from outside your industry that come and solve your industry's problems. That's the central thesis of incentive competitions, and that's what HeroX is all about. Now, what's the IV 2050 Challenge all about? AEM believes that there's a more innovative way to move people from their starting point A to their destination point Z, and to do it more quickly, efficiently, and effectively, and safely than today's systems. That's what this is all about. Infrastructure. We all know the problems of infrastructure. We've got congested highways. We've got crumbling bridges. We've got pathetically unreliable transit, except for here, of course, Ingrid. It's been 60 years since the last major infrastructure project, which was the National Highway, the Interstate Highway System that the United States did. 60 years. we really have been stagnant, while technology has been advancing exponentially. The system has been wonderful. It helped create America and made us a world power, but it hasn't kept pace with the technological progress. It hasn't kept pace with the advances in transportation technology. AEM wants to facilitate this change. They want to start the conversation that will lead to the solutions moving forward. This is why I'm so excited about this. What they say is it's sustainable, spanning sustainable vehicle and transportation systems, infrastructure materials, data intelligence, software systems, and entire future cities. These can be crowdsourced. And literally, they had more than 40 companies from 15 countries competing to solve this problem. These are the best of the best. They're the ones we're going to be putting in front of you. The 5 concepts we're going to be showing you were judged to be the most adaptable, reliable, flexible, and predictable, and resilient for a community. And they mitigate the issues that prevent buy-in. Now it's time for our innovators to share their ideas and their passion. We're going to be putting them in front of a panel of live judges who are going to be judging them, and they have a chance to win $15,000 as third prize, $35,000 as second prize, and $50,000 to the first place winner. That's what the prize is. So let's get this show on the road, if I can use that expression, and meet our judges. Adi Tomer, did I get it right, Adi?
Perfect.
All right. He's a fellow at Brookings Institution's Metropolitan Policy Program, whose work it is to improve transportation systems, broadband, and the intersection between technological infrastructure and development. And he's also an expert on driving trends, transit accessibility, metropolitan aviation patterns. Welcome, my friend.
Thanks.
The next judge is Chief Marketing Officer for Local Motors and Executive Vice President of LaunchForth, which is a crowd-powered SaaS platform used by some of the world's most renowned brands, including GE and Airbus. Elle Shelley.
Hi.
Coming in from Washington, D.C., our next judge is the Principal Vice President and Head of Bechtel's Private-Public Partnership business and is a member of the Advisory Board of the Cornell University Program in Infrastructure Policy, Keith Hennessy. Our next judge is an adjunct professor of transportation design at a world-leading car design school, College for Creative Studies in Detroit, Michigan. And he's also the inventor of the neighborhood electric vehicle. We should read up on this. Amazing what he's done. Dan Sturgis. And most amazing of all is Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for Las Vegas Monorail, which brought most of you over here this morning.
I hope.
She's responsible for advertising, marketing, public relations, sales, and government affairs, as well as strategic planning and corporate development. Ingrid Riesman. Welcome to IB 2050. I'd like our judges to give you a sense of what the judging criteria will be for this competition.
Sure. Almost half of each finalist score, 40 points, will come from their ability to tell the story about their innovation.
Another 40 points will be going towards their use of supporting presentation materials that bring their concept to life. 3D models, augmented reality, video examples, whatever helps tell their story.
And up to 20 points will be given to presentations with a great delivery or punch. The better the pitch, the more points, and the better chance of winning.
And remember, they will only have 5 minutes, so they need to engage right away and really share a compelling story to convince us why their concept should win.
You know, I told you why I believe in this. Tell me why you believe in it.
Well, I actually put a little vehicle on the road, and it's such a hard process to innovate holistic solutions. Public and private is so hard. So this type of competition and crowdsourcing, I think, could really be the hope of how we can inform cities and leaders that the cities want this future and then make it happen.
Dan has pioneered an entire new industry with these new vehicles. I'd love for you to read about it sometime. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and I think Dan's exactly right. I mean, we're facing all across the world enormous challenges of, frankly, people urbanizing, moving to cities, not just here in the United States, but in countries all over the world. So these kind of infrastructure investments are needed to make sure we can all get around and our economies can function.
And this is just the start, right? Like, this is a competition and it's fun, and we're going to see some innovative ideas. But the true win here is for all of us because we start a conversation. So we encourage you to actually participate with us in that way. Think about the challenges, think about what we have, think about how public and private can work together, and take today and go back home and continue that conversation that we start today.
Thank you, everyone. If you'll take a seat, I'll give I'll give everyone a quick rundown of how this is going to flow, and I also hope that our finalists have brought their A presentation skills with them, because they're going to be in front of a very tough crowd here, very nice crowd, but we're going to ask them some tough questions. What we're going to do is that we're going to give each of the contestants 5 minutes to present their idea, their pitch, and then we're going to have 3 minutes of Q&A with the judges. And the finalists have been told that they can be asked any question, scripted or not scripted. They're going to be asked any question about their concept. Are you anxious? Yes. I tell you, I'm terrified for how they must feel, because these companies are not used to being on stage and giving presentations. And I'm nervous enough being here, to introduce them. Anyway, let's not keep them waiting any longer. Let's bring them on board. Out of Los Angeles, California, a city that certainly knows about congestion, comes an idea called Monorail 2050. Monorail trains that efficiently connect transit hubs through retail and residential spaces. Without further ado, let's bring on Jeremy Martinez. Welcome, my friend.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, I'd like to start by thanking the Association of Equipment Manufacturers for their generosity in bringing me to Las Vegas and putting us up in some pretty nice digs over at the SLS. I got to tell you, I'm not an infrastructure specialist or engineer. I'm actually a psychiatrist. But I'm also a dreamer. And dreaming is something that I've seen time and again at this conference. And that's what's really impressed me by all of you, that you've dared to dream. So if I can bring nothing else to this conference, it's to say, despite any criticism, keep on dreaming. My idea came about after sitting in Los Angeles in traffic for hours at a time. It's enough to drive a sane person crazy. The average Angelino spends 81 hours each year stuck in traffic. That's over 2 weeks of productivity, or 2 weeks of vacation. The problem is, as roads have widened, the number of cars has increased to fill them. This is a property called induced demand. And our roadways are limited, therefore, by their capacity. But wouldn't it be nice if you could go to your store, to your dentist, or to your psychiatrist without having to take a car? Well, this is possible here and now. The solution is a comprehensive infrastructure plan that includes transportation, housing, and retail. And also, this solution is going to talk about how to pay for it. Let's talk about transportation. In this model, we need to find some transportation that will meet the demands of our cities. By the year 2050, the number of people in cities is projected to double. So with a monorail, it's only limited by demand, not by capacity. It can be very efficient for short-term transportation and is very safe. A great example of this is right behind us, the Las Vegas monorail. The Las Vegas monorail is the only privately funded public transportation system in the United States. It requires no public funds to operate the system. And every year, this monorail system removes 2.3 million vehicle miles from southern Nevada roadways. So it has a tremendous environmental impact. So why monorail? Why not light rail? Well, the idea behind the monorail is that there are guideways that have a very small footprint, which allows it to be developed and put into heavily developed areas, such as big cities. And this project complements existing infrastructure. It connects to light rail rather than replacing it. How many of you have ridden the monorail since you've been here? How many of you liked it? What's been shown is that, in general, people like monorails, and that can't be underestimated when it comes to public infrastructure planning. There has to be a public support for it. In Los Angeles, voters have supported monorail bills in the past. So there certainly is a desire to have something like this. But can this system hold all of the capacity that we need in a big city? Well, the largest monorail system in the world is in China, the Chongqing Monorail Line 3. Over its 34.5 miles, it's able to handle 682,000 riders each day. And it's very safe, with over 2 billion riders traveling without a single death. Now, this is a comprehensive infrastructure plan. It includes housing and retail. The transit hubs are large monorail stations with housing, retail, and public spaces like art installations. These can provide affordable housing, provide employment, reduce parking, and have been shown to be successful in other parts of the world. So how do you pay for this? Monorail cost is similar to light rail at about $70 million per mile, or 88 behind us. But this proposal requires no new taxes or private funding, which targets large-scale developers, think shopping mall. In this way, developers finance the construction and development of the transit hubs, and they benefit from that, while the public benefits from having a sleek new transportation system. So the only question now is, how do you want to travel in the future? This system has the capacity to meet the demand. It is deployable in heavily developed areas, has new housing and employment options, private financing, and no new taxes. So let me ask you how you want to dream about the future.
Thank you. Now, here we heard from a psychiatrist who's coming up with new ideas for transportation. Remember what I said about incentive competitions, how they spur out-of-the-box thinking? You know, what Peter and I joke about is that it's the crazy thinkers that that do the most amazing things. These are some crazy ideas, but it's just amazing ideas. That's the way it goes. Judges, I'll hand it to you.
Good morning. Jeremy, thank you for your presentation, and thank you for the plug of the monorail. If anyone needs to speak to, any media need to speak to anyone about the monorail, please go see Jeremy. Okay, my question, I have so many questions, but talk to me about capacity, because capacity depends on the number of trains and the number of stations and the distance. So tell me how you came up with your capacity. Talk to me a little bit more in detail about that, please.
Yeah, so as you said, the capacity for the monorail depends on the number of trains. Someone might argue with me last night the monorail was very full, but that's because of the number of trains. So by increasing the number of trains up to 10 trains at a time, that's the way that you can increase capacity to those large numbers.
Please.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Great presentation. So my big question here is one of aesthetics. So I'm a native Floridian. I think none of us can imagine Disney World without that monorail, but in an idyllic lake-filled setting next to parking lots, that's one thing. You're talking about in your images plowing real trusses through downtown locations. How can you confirm that not only the business community is going to be behind it, but frankly the public as well?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. And part of the reason I brought up the Los Angeles voters supporting this is to show that there is public support for these types of things. Putting them in the middle of a pylon, in the middle of a freeway, or going down, into a crowded area is something that Los Angeles voters have liked. We're sick and tired of sitting in traffic. It's just mind-numbing.
Any more questions? Going, please.
Yeah, hi, Jeremy. Great presentation. One question, though. I know it's a monorail concept, but as you think about the whole system being elevated versus at least a portion being at street level, did you think about perhaps having sections or parts of the system that would be at street level, at grade as well? How do you think about that trade-off?
I think that's a possibility, and one of the reasons that light rail can be efficient over a longer period of distance is that it does use goes along the ground. It doesn't require building these pylons. However, in this model, it's elevated, and these are short distance, half a mile to a mile stations in between. So it can be very efficient when we consider that type of short distance.
That's all the time we have for
okay,
questions.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Our second finalist hails from Franktown, Colorado, just an hour outside Denver. He has a transportation solution he calls Transportation Infrastructure Reinvented, a network of lightweight guideways that interconnect small stations, loading, offloading facilities, and streets. Here to tell us more is Peter Mueller.
The smart system, life-changing transportation infrastructure that pays for itself. Our transportation system is made up of three parts: vehicles, pedestrians, and infrastructure. This so-called system was never systematically developed. It just happened, and it did not work. It still doesn't work. We can't expect to fix the entire system by just replacing the human behind the wheel with a computer. Cars are only part of the problem. Driverless cars are likely to make congestion even worse over the next 30 or so years. And it's not just about congestion and accidents. It's also about bad transit. Pavements that take up half of suburban real estate. Crumbling infrastructure that gets worse every year. And it's also about jobs. In short, ladies and gentlemen, it's about the very quality of life. When I was chairman of the Airport Consultants Council, we found there were many ways you could move people around airports. If you could just move, you could improve airports if you could just move people in small pods. Then we found these pod systems exist. They're called Automated Transit Networks, ATN. In 2005, I decided to devote the remainder of my professional career to ATN. Inspired by this challenge, I developed the smart system to be the next generation of ATN. ATN systems are in public service around the world. They separate vehicles from pedestrians and are extremely safe. Passengers travel seated in small driverless vehicles on dedicated guideways. Small vehicles require small infrastructure, which is relatively inexpensive and unobtrusive. Many offline stations located on sidings allow non-stop travel and short walking distances. Waiting times are less than a minute. However, ATN systems are relatively slow with low to medium capacity. High capacities combined with high speeds and short stations have previously been thought impossible. The smart system was developed to overcome these three issues. It has speeds up to 80 miles an hour and capacity equivalent to 7 freeway lanes. Being mostly elevated, the smart system can be retrofitted to existing streets without the need for new right-of-way. It only needs to remove 10 to 20% of traffic for congestion to vanish. The smart system can serve legacy transit systems, improving their ridership. Stations can be attached directly to buildings. In new developments, homes can be built clustered around stations, providing door-to-door service and mostly eliminating the need for roads. Imagine living and working in a park-like environment, yet being in the midst of a dense city and having access to high-speed transportation on demand for you and your entire family. Imagine. This is not just some vision of the far distant future. First generation ATN systems can solve today's problems, like the Red Line extension in Chicago. 4 stations for $2.3 billion. An ATN solution, by contrast, would have 10 times as many stations, 5 times the ridership, cost a third, and be profitable. ATN systems eliminate congestion and increase safety and mobility. New communities with ATN systems will have thriving economies and happy citizens. The smart system is the transportation infrastructure solution of the future, which can be implemented today. Please be smart. Help me improve the quality of life.
Years working on these technologies. He believes with a passion that he wants to solve the problems of transportation. So he's an example of someone with experience who's now been motivated to come up with amazing ideas. The second thing is what I told Peter is that I want to be able to drive my self-driving Tesla on this system and have it coexist with these pods. Why can't we take it one step further? When cars drive themselves, why couldn't we simply have them now?
No, it's out. Guys, I got 15. Can I give him a handheld, please? 15. Run it.
Nice.
All right, no worries.
Go on out.
You know, I'm going to let the judges do the questioning because I'm taking their time now. Please.
Peter, I'm really impressed with your long time work in this area. My question is in this direction. All of the models you showed us were closed systems, what people call PRT, or the automated transit network. And when you started, nobody was talking about self-driving cars, right? And now the whole self-driving car thing's come forward. How much do you see self-driving cars to be able to fit with your elevated guideways?
Is going on.
So, very good question. If you look carefully at the illustration, there were cases where the guideway comes down to the road and the vehicles leave the guideway and can travel in streets. And that is actually the better way to go to start, is to have the systematic vehicles come off occasionally and go in the streets. Eventually, we'll also be able to have cars come on the guideways. That introduces many complexities that we're not there yet. But yes, we can go there, and that could be part of the solution. I don't think any one thing is a solution to everything. All these things have to work together.
I want to echo Dan's comments. This is a very great concept for solving the solution. It looks at multimodal, it looks at different layers, it really addresses the different modalities in which people want to get around. My question for you is about the business model. When you did a side-by-side comparison, you actually said compared to pre-existing infrastructure in Chicago, your system would make money. Can you give us a little bit more background on the money and the business model behind your approach?
Yeah, that's a good question. The cost of these systems is typically a third or a quarter of the cost of rail-based systems. It's more similar to bus rapid transit costs, yet with a much higher level of service. And part of the reason why there's motivation to go faster is faster goes to the bottom line twice. When you go faster, you attract more riders and you get more revenue. And when you go faster, you need less vehicles, and so you save costs. So the ability of today's ATN systems to make a profit, have a good business case, is there. Tomorrow's smart system, it'll be there 2 or 3 times over.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I tell you, I really love your passion. A round of applause from Peter. Let's meet the third finalist who's traveled all the way from Kampala, Uganda, to share a concept called the direct drive system, an intelligible road infrastructure concept. Let's all welcome Michael Ahim Bisawe. And by the way, I have problems with his foreign names also.
Morning.
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 Me and you, we've got a big questions answer. And here it goes. Can a computer finally put an end to road traffic congestion? Here is the answer. A direct drive system and an intelligible road infrastructure. It will turn our road infrastructure into one big thing with one single brain and many vehicles, a couple of them, on a mission to execute brain-generated instructions and give feedback to the brain. So it's one single thing with many vehicles controlled by many vehicles. We have a roads. Our roads will be modified for feedback to the brain. So it's one thing. Then we've got one big solution. Traffic congestion will be a thing of the past. In the cases of high traffic demand, we've got commuters with fixed time arrival. The brain will schedule those commuters to leave earlier from their starting position so that they can get to work, example, in time. We have fixed time departure. For example, commuters who must leave their departure position, for example, when you want to create space for parking or you don't want to incur high parking charges, the system will schedule these commuters to travel through less congested alternative routes. Then we've got freelance commuters. The system will schedule these commuters to stay longer from their starting position such that they can spend more of their time doing productive things. For example, spending more time at work. For this system to work, the road infrastructure will be converted into an organized data using this mathematical relation. Generally, it's just converting geographical positions around the road into organized data, and it is merging geographical positions with time variation. So each vehicle before entering the road, it's got to have a reservation. So drivers will have to execute the reservation from the brain. For human drivers, that piece of instruction set will be displayed using heads-up display. For driverless cars, it will be automatically executed. The whole infrastructure will be organized and coordinated through a single brain. Entry and exit will be regulated through a single brain. The system combines different mature technologies. We don't have to do a lot to eliminate traffic congestion. We have the brain of the system, which is the computer. We have the cars, which we already have. We can add on autonomous cars. We have the nervous system, which is wireless internet that we already have. Then the navigation system, very accurate, automated, using barcode technology. Then to eliminate traffic and increase the number of vehicles on our road, we don't have to have a big budget. What we have to do, provide entry and exit points around the whole road network and paint barcodes for navigation, which is very accurate. For reservation system to work, the brain of the system, which is the computer, will schedule our vehicles travel in group formations. Some reservation points will be put aside for other road users, for example, pedestrians, so that when you leave your starting point, you must not stop along the way, even at road intersections. You just continue moving. This repeated slowdown and acceleration will be minimized, so we'll have less fuel consumption, no interruption between pedestrians and motorists. I think with this system, we are going to have an efficient mobile system for the future. with cleaner environment. Thank you.
One of the things I teach students is that innovation is globalized. Now, he's sitting there in Kampala, Uganda, talking about all of these amazing technologies. I mean, you know, here we take it for granted that we have an advantage over the rest of the world. You have entrepreneurs everywhere coming up with amazing ideas, such as what Michael has done. That's really what blows me away, that he can envisage a system such as this, being in the middle of you know, being somewhere where we don't, most of us don't even know where Kampala is on the map. I bet you if I took a poll, no one would know where it is on the map. Yet you have entrepreneurs such as this. Dear judges, please take over.
I commend you. Great imagination and all. I'm just wondering, do you see it as a universal solution? In the United States, we have parts of our country where it gets very cold, snowy, icy roads. Do you see that as a problem with your system?
The weather monitoring system will be incorporated in the brain of the system. When it is planning a speed for you, like a speed profile, it will have weather monitoring sensors across the road, so that when it assigns you the speed, you can either slow down, or in the cases of abrupt weather that can block the road, drivers can immediately stop, and the brain gets that information so that we can clear the road very fast.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please, go ahead, Ingrid.
Good morning, thank you. My question surrounds confidentiality. My concern is that there would be users who would not want to be tracked constantly, would not want to have to make a reservation. So talk to me about whether it's an opt-in, is it a compulsory, how do you handle the confidentiality of it?
For we shall be, the system can work on vehicles, and it is just, it is looking at vehicles, not human beings. Maybe it can look at your car, but the system, it could be programmed in the central server or in the computer not to reveal the confidentiality, or unless you allow someone to access your assigned route. For example, if you are going to visit your friend, you don't have to tell them where you have reached. You can give them, for example, a code so that they can see where you are. Just if you have allowed them to do so. I think that confidentiality thing can be sorted out using softwares. Thank you.
Great. One last question.
Yeah, this is, again, brilliant concept, very innovative. Congratulations. My question for you would actually be around the analog of this. It seems to me like your approach actually mirrors what's currently in the US, the Federal Aviation Association, the FAA. Whether you're on public or private, you have to file a flight plan, and then the FAA is sort of the brain monitoring all of this. It seems like your concept is an analog to a road version of that, and if so, does this mean that we would need to create a road-based FAA, or who's managing the brain? What does that entity look like, and how do we safeguard it and make sure that it's very, very secure?
Okay, thank you. Even our roads are managed by some authorities. So it can be a public, private, public partnership when we have people managing the roads on behalf of government, like FAA. Like updating the system, it will have to be updated. We need people to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks for coming all this way. Good luck. You folks want to come up and let's chat about it?
Love us.
You know, what do you folks think? I mean, I'm blown away. What do you folks think? How are we doing so far?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that the innovation levels are really high here. These are definitely ideas we're not seeing out in the marketplace yet, but it can definitely impact how we get around each day.
Yeah, I live in Las Vegas, so I'm a local here, and this city was built around the vehicle. So this is really exciting for me. From a personal standpoint, I have a special needs child, so the vehicle, the single occupant vehicle concept will not work for him when he's an adult. So all of this innovation, all of this excitement, this makes me so hopeful for what we can really create for our cities in the future.
Well, I think it's also You know, in the United States, we have basically an automobile monoculture. You know, it's a ubiquitous system that takes everywhere. So as a society, are we thinking about how to create a new ubiquitous system? Do we just do one of these ideas in one part of the world and see how it works first before we think about it going everywhere? So what's that process? Makes me think about that.
What's been really exciting is really thinking about, you know, the connection between man and machine. We talk about it like the love affair with the vehicle. Some of these concepts have actually allowed for a new love affair to, you know, blossom. It's not just let's get rid of cars altogether, which oftentimes is the solution, but let's find new ways to create these connections because there's still an emotional connection to your vehicle, whether it's a public vehicle or a private vehicle. We have to create those. Yeah.
Keith, you work in an amazing industry, you know, very powerful company, one of the largest and most successful. What do you see out there that's mind-blowing? You know, crazy to me means good. What do you see out there that's crazy?
Yeah, so what I love about this competition and the presentations we've already heard is really the application of really new and innovative technology to what are transportation challenges that we've all faced for, you know, the last number of decades. And I think the different theme here is around autonomous vehicles, whether in the last presentation, barcode technology or GPS type technology to really manage and optimize traffic flows brings all kinds of benefits. And what we think about a lot is in order to get the public behind these new applications of technology, you have to emphasize various kinds of benefits. And all of these presentations today really point to better safety, better sustainability, better environmental outcomes, which are all, you know, terrific, really important benefits as well as addressing the transit needs themselves.
What have you seen that's crazier than this?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean, I think what I'm seeing weaving through them all in a good critical way is you can see the craziest idea out there. Right. But if you can't figure out how to pay for it, especially here in the United States context, it's not going anywhere. So that's really big, and I think you're hearing some of that from some of our questions, and I guarantee you we're thinking about it for all of them and could toss out. Second one is, and I think El's last question was really hit this nail on the head, is government has a huge role to play here, right? This is a common, infrastructure is something that we commonly all use, even if it's a regulated utility like your water or energy bill, or transportation, which seems less regulated, but still very much has a government kind of layer over that. How are you gonna get them to kind of figure out this is the technology you wanna go with? And I think you're hearing about the last iteration with the kind of solo automobile model. These are great ideas, but how do we make sure that government can kind of figures out where to glob onto and creates frameworks and regulatory systems that help us all tap into that power?
Keith, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say some of these ideas like Elon Musk have with the, you know, these hyper tubes, these vacuum tubes to go from San Francisco to LA and, you know, in probably less than 30 minutes or something. Those things are sort of way out on the forefront, I suspect.
Yeah. You know,
I would
sorry,
echo
Ingrid?
that, yes, the public and private absolutely need to work together. It is a very interesting and challenging daily activity to run a private train system using only private dollars. But I think there's such opportunity with all of these technologies. I'm really looking forward to hearing more.
Dan, you pioneered something that was crazy in its day, the NEV. What do you see the future being? What's crazier than that?
Well, the future is definitely multimodal and right-sized. I mean, we have, like in Denver, Colorado, one city for an average, we have 1.1 people per car. So that's like a 20% load factor. So if you're the CEO of Delta, you can only fly a week before you go out of business at that load factor. So we know we have to change and we have to improve, but that love affair with the car we're talking about, that emotional connection to the car, that's a really complex thing. I come from a car design background, and that's what we tried to do, is we took a bucket of steel and made it something that someone really wanted it. And so we have to see more of that brought into these new future solutions that are multimodal and offer comprehensive solutions.
El, do you want to have the last word here?
This is great. This is so exciting. I know, again, we keep talking about the conversation, and I think we're unpacking a lot of layers that often are what we talk about, right? Like, okay, how do we change from a single family car? How do we introduce new vehicle concepts? How do we solve what actually Dan and I talk about this a lot, the #1 challenge to changing the user behavior to using public transportation is actually first and last mile solutions. We're in heels, right? Like, I don't want to walk anywhere. And then you put that in comparison with heat. I'm born and raised in Phoenix. You're in Las Vegas. the heat makes it so you can't take public transportation. So we have to explore these multimodal models that figure out how to take, how to take journeys in different pods, concepts, and steps. So it's really exciting to see everybody explore all of that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, if you'll take your seats, we'll listen to two more finalists. Our fourth finalist hails from California. They're the only team presentations to make it to the finals. Entitled Hyperlane, a convergence of two transportation modes, the car and the train, please welcome Bayu Chen and Anthony Bars. They're from my neck of the woods. Welcome, my friends. Who wants to drive?
Me.
Good.
Thank you, Vivek. Allow me to introduce my commute. And oh my God, does it suck. But to be honest, I always just assumed that this was the price of living in the city, until I went to Japan and experienced this, high-speed rail that was fast and easy. And I couldn't help but wonder, why don't we have high-speed rail in North America? So I come back from Japan, and I'm all excited about high-speed rail. Can't stop talking about it.
Oh man, he really didn't stop.
But we looked into it, right? And we found that there were 3 reasons why you don't see high-speed rail in North America. The first is density. Lagging here. Density. There simply isn't enough population density in the US to allow the economics of high-speed rail to work. The second is political pushback. People love the idea of high-speed rail, but not in their neighborhood. And then there's cost. Not just the cost of building the high-speed rail, but maintaining it and operationalizing it. They're debilitating costs. Despite all this, however, we still believe that there's a high-speed future. It's a hybrid of interstate and high-speed rail, and we call this high-speed future
Hyperlane. Like Anthony mentioned, Hyperlane is a hybrid between interstate and high-speed rail. It is comprised of 2 parts. The first part is a dedicated autonomous vehicle-only lane that snaps onto pre-existing interstate system. Autonomous vehicles will travel in this lane at 120 miles per hour at a much higher density, which will bring at least 4 times the capacity of a normal interstate lane. Moreover, it's cheap to build, which is perfect for areas with low to medium population density, like in North America. But of course, the speed of 120 miles per hour only works when there's no traffic, and the second part is where we zap traffic.
Exactly. We zap that traffic using something called the dynamic pricing engine. It's like air traffic control for the hyperlane. And its primary function is to know demand, what's going in, what's coming out. And it uses this to modulate price to access the hyperlane. So when prices increase, demand drops. And this is how we manage capacity in the hyperlane and make sure that there's never traffic. However, this approach might seem like it would keep people from using hyperlane when demand was really high. But we did research looking at dynamic pricing in energy markets, and what we found is that people don't stop using things when they have dynamic pricing, they just optimize how they use it. For example, take a look at Ollie here. Imagine that you're in a traffic jam, and Ollie, this minibus that holds 10 people, comes and picks you up right at your front door. It then picks up 9 of your closest neighbors and zips you into the city at 120 miles per hour. You can take that fare, the Hyperlane fare, and you can split it 10 ways now. Or there's this Domino's pizza guy here. It's small, and it represents right-sized transportation. It's all you need to deliver a pizza, right? This is the beauty of dynamic pricing. It gets rid of all the excess waste, but you still get the same outcome, delivered pizzas and people at work.
But at the end of the day, Hyperlane is about us. It's about removing inconsistent experience and wasted time and replace it with nonstop high speed. So for example, in Chicago, when you want to go to the airport, instead of sitting in the back of your cab miserably in traffic for 60 minutes, you can now zip into the airport in just 10 minutes. Or in other cities like DC, where the traffic isn't as bad, but the airport is a little bit further out, you can still save a lot of time. I mean, what you gonna do with the extra time? Take a second and think about it. I mean, for me, I probably would try to catch up with the sleep hours needed as a student. But the best part of this is you can have this high-speed experience with just 1/8 the cost of rail. And that's what makes Hyperlane work.
Exactly. It's low cost, it's high speed. This is the future of high-speed travel. But this is high-speed travel that is easy. It literally picks you up at your front door. It's high speed that is consistent, the same experience, no traffic, every single time. It's high speed that is right-sized, the perfect vehicle for every moment in your life. And all of this on a platform that is inexpensive to build and scalable. This is high speed that works. This is high speed that could transform North American cities and how we move around. This is high speed with Hyperlane. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, the only thing that worries me about your solution is that you're taking my carpool lane away. Right now, with my Tesla, I have this sticker which allows me to get into that lane, but I'm limited to 65 miles an hour. If I could go to 120 miles an hour in that lane, I tell you, I'd pay the $10 to you.
All right.
So
we got one customer.
And by the way, this is an MBA, and he's an engineer. So again, out of the blue, brilliant ideas, simple, brilliant ideas. Dear judges, please take over.
Oh, I just can't wait. Awesome job, and thank you for using Ollie. It's fun to see that. Here's my question for you. This actually, to me, seems like something that we could do. And so what would be, in your mind, what would be the very first step? What would we have to do first in order to bring this vision to life?
Can we take that?
Yes. So currently, we have most of the technology there to support this whole system. And I guess the first step would be getting people to believe that autonomous vehicles is the future and they are going to provide a great travel experience. And then I guess the next step is after we convince the people, then we're going to convince everyone, including the people on the hills, that it is going to work. So I guess that's the two necessary steps. And I think another part is since this is actually a great system for the private and the public like a cooperation. So maybe the next step would be to convince the private part that it's also going to work.
Let's solve your first problem right now. Raise your hand if you agree that autonomous technology will solve some of these problems. I think problem solved. Move on to the next step. Let's get this solution on the roads.
Please, Keith.
Two questions. First, safety related. Talk to me about how you would separate the hyperlane from the regular traffic, grade separation barrier, something along those lines. Second, are you thinking of a greenfield lane, new lane in essence, new construction, or are you converting and retrofitting existing lanes to your lane?
He wants my carpool lane.
Sorry. So to your first question on safety, the way I like to think of it is, in cities where they have like metro that goes down the center of the interstate, so that would be the hyperlane, fully segmented and separate. So you can't merge into the hyperlane when you're on the interstate. And then to your second question, actually both options work. It's very flexible, and it really depends what the constraints are. So in a place like San Francisco, where we live, there's a lot of constraints. There's a lot of pushback. So there, you snap that hyperlane right onto the 101, boom. But in a place like, say, Chicago, where there might be a little more leeway, you can greenfield it.
I want to ask one more question. This is a great presentation. What are the equity concerns here? In particular, let's just even assume everyone could get access to a shared autonomous vehicle, but are we consigning lower income, even middle income Americans to the slow lanes so those who can afford the payment can go in the hyperlane?
So can I take that one?
Yes.
Hold on. Okay. Because this is the whole thing about right sizing, right? That bus that holds 10 people, let's say that makes the price $15 per person. I'm just making these numbers up. And let's say that 15 doesn't work for you, but there might be a bus 1 block away from where you live that holds 30 people, which means you can, what is that? It's $5 a person? The engineer. This is why we work together. So it's really democratic in that sense, and it gives you the choice to choose the option that's best for you.
Thanks. Thank you, guys. A round of applause for my friends over here. Thank you, Bayo and Anthony. Great job. All right, our final presentation. I don't know if it's better to go first or last, but I know that we're going to get a heartfelt presentation next. Representing Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with the solution called Beyond Static Pavement, a unique approach that adapts highways to fit 10 times more cars for 1% of the cost. Welcome, Kevin Liu.
If you're driving in Los Angeles on the eve of Thanksgiving on the 405, this would have been the scene from above. There's traffic everywhere. A 15-minute ride coming from Costa Mesa to Long Beach would have taken you 2.5 hours of straight-up tantrum. Hi, my name's Kevin. My company PyroE is developing an innovative solution that's going to improve traffic 10 times at 1% cost of roadway expansion. Before we get to our solution, did you know more populated cities actually has worse traffic than less populated cities? That's right. The network effect that makes our cities more efficient, such as in education and healthcare, does not apply to transportation. What does that mean? A poor urban transportation actually makes us human beings less human. In response, I'd like to introduce to you guys the adaptive pavement, a technology that enables smart roads that's going to allow, for the first time since the adoption of the federal highway system, to coordinate traffic to travel at the same speed and allow us to finally shatter the fundamental law of traffic. Let me show you how it works. Here are two simulations, left and right, that has different speed limits, one at 26, 28, and the other at 65. By tracking a single vehicle traveling around the circle, we can measure the time spent around that track. And what I have to show you is that the one with the lower speed limit actually has a shorter time finishing the track. What that tells you is that this bottleneck of the vehicles traveling at a faster speed limit actually has twice the amount of time spent on the tracks. What about capacity, you say, which is the gold standard and the metric for measuring the effectiveness of transportation? And here, same thing, by keeping the maximum speed limit at a lower value, we could actually increase capacity as well. However, you will see that the total number of cars is the same. That's not very surprising, right? However, remember, the one on the left has much faster lap time. What that means, we actually have double the amount of capacity by lowering the speed limit. Isn't that incredible? So how does this play out in real life? So currently the 405 freeway undergoing expansion is costing $1.7 billion for a 13-mile stretch of road. That is $100 million per mile. And compared to our smart lanes, it is 100 times cheaper, and it's with a much shorter timetable, and the capacity is much quicker, because adding more lanes simply reduces more traffic, as the previous speakers have pointed out. And for the best of all, for you and I, the amount of commute time drastically reduces by adding value to our existing infrastructure instead of building new ones. And best of all, the device actually pays for itself. It will actually pay for itself 100 times over by allowing congestion tolling. This is a concept that's very important to the vision, I think, where we suppose that lane-specific pricing information allows you to modify any lane into any high-speed or low-speed traffic. Monetizing our infrastructure is the key to the future. Our NASA developed technology works in 3 ways. It actually compresses and expands vertically, and through that we could actually harness the energy from the road, from the vehicles, and that power is used to provide haptic and visual feedback to the drivers, and that's going to slow down traffic when needed. And when it's not needed, we could actually provide data, very important lane-specific traffic data, to a central network or design engineering firms who use this data for design roads. Lastly, in closing, I just want to share a story with a happy ending. In 2015, Los Angeles actually synchronized all of its traffic lights. And in doing so, we actually saved for the city $1.7 billion of recovered waste fuel and lost productivity. That little story just goes to show you how if we plan ahead, we could make our roads smarter. And if we smartify our roads, we could smartify our highways. If we smartify our highways, our cities, our infrastructure will become cleaner, our cars less polluting, and our roads safer. And, I'm not done. And with all that, our infrastructure will not just become a thing that improves people moving you and I, but it may just become the pride of our nation. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, I love the simplicity of this, that we have these automated lights. Well, why not have the roads tell us how fast we should go and slow down when we have to slow down? We all sort of rush into traffic at the same time and just go and wait there. If we can now get everyone to agree, it's such a simple solution to such a complex problem. That's the brilliance of it. My friends, please.
Yeah, great presentation, Kevin. I have multiple questions. I'm going to hold for one unless there's space for the end for an extra one. But in particular, how can you make sure, this is a really dorky concept, but how can you make sure on procurement that cities and regions are going to be willing to invest the money in this form of payment versus the tried and true methods that they're using right now? In other words, we're not necessarily talking about some new technology in terms of modes of transport, right? But you're actually changing the way they do business right now on what they know and as their bread and butter.
Yes, it is definitely a hard problem to solve. We have been talking to Caltrans for our initial interaction, and the answer was it takes about 10 years to adapt something like this. So I think first, a beachhead market could be private developers that in high urban populated areas that improve pedestrian safety as well as vehicle safety. So as long as we demonstrate something initially and be successful at it, I think larger agencies will like to do a pilot of their own in the future.
Congratulations as well, very innovative. I'm just thinking from the user's perspective. So if a user's on a section of the 405 freeway there, and the road wants to go 40 miles an hour, so those little things that pop up, are those like speed bumps that people feel until they slow down and go the speed that the octopus wants to travel?
Yes, so the devices that we're developing actually could expand and contract vertically, and that's something that we'll play with just to get the right feeling of the cars providing a feedback to the drivers. Obviously safety is a big concern, and we wouldn't want to jeopardize that. So that's something we could modify with our design, and do a demonstration. We could do that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Keith, you want to ask something?
Go ahead. Yes. You noted in the presentation that the devices are powered by the cars going on. Can you talk about that technology? Is that proven? Have you demonstrated that? I mean, I'm kind of curious how the device stays powered for what would be presumably years of use.
Yeah, that actually touching our patent protection here, but however, it is developed by NASA. It has a solid state system inside, so no gears, no way to break down. And it stores pretty much the car's resistive forces to the road and convert that into electricity. So it has a battery on board that powers the data transmission and data management.
So one last quick question. We heard actually, to bring it all around, in our first presentation about induced demand, right? And if these roads move smoother, are we only inviting Americans to go further and further away from jobs, healthcare, schools? And so even if the commute is smoother, are their drive times going to stay just as long?
Yeah, I think in terms of jobs, I think investments into infrastructure is going to have, if you have a technology that could do multiple things at the same time, remember we could actually lay these devices down while doing resurfacing of the road. So we actually do two things at once because current budgets are separated between maintaining stock roads versus new infrastructure. So if we could combine that sort of things together, it would be a great thing to do.
Kevin is already developing this technology. Keith, is something that you could invest in and work with him on. Sure. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, my friend.
Grab your scorecard.
That way. Now it's time for the judges to deliberate. I mean, I don't envy them. I'm glad I have this job and not that job, because we had some fantastic companies over here. How do you pick between them? Well, we'll let them figure this out. And while they discuss it, we're going to show you a video from my mentor, my former boss who recruited me to Singularity University and who got me involved with XPRIZE, Peter Diamandis. Peter Diamandis is just absolutely brilliant. He's such an amazing visionary. He refuses to believe anything negative could happen to mankind. He looks at only the bright side of everything. Let's roll the video and have Peter on.
Hi, my name is Peter Diamandis. When we founded HeroX back in 2013, our goal was to democratize the innovation model that I started at XPRIZE. HeroX exists to enable anyone, anywhere around the world to create a challenge that addresses any problem or opportunity, build a community around that challenge, and then activate the circumstances that can lead to a breakthrough innovation. We want to inspire innovators to see the world as it could be and paint a picture in the most vivid way possible. Anything big and bold is impossible until someone or a group of people make it possible. We need to change the conversation from why can't we to how do we. That is why we partner with groups who want to inspire this type of thinking. Partners like AEM. AEM is crafting a vision for a long-term national plan for the United States infrastructure and how we will move people, freight, and energy in the manufacturing industry. They are embracing disruptive, grassroots methods such as HeroX to tap into innovators and thought leaders across a range of industries and expertise. AEM's Infrastructure Vision 2050 challenge to create a system of transportation for the U.S. that will meet the needs of all users in 2050 and beyond is exactly the kind of challenge we had in mind. Infrastructure is in a desperate need of innovation. Using the power of the crowd, together we can build the world we envision.
Peter Diamandis, you should read one of his books. He's just so, so optimistic about the future, and he makes his future happen. And HeroX is one of the ways to do that. You get people like the ones we saw here coming up with all sorts of crazy is good, by the way, all sorts of crazy ideas. I mean, the lingo that Peter and I use is crazy. So when I use it outside, people think that I'm being derogatory. No, crazy means good. We want more crazy ideas. We want more innovators doing amazing things. And by the way, all of you have a voice over here as well. There's a fan favorite that you can participate in. Throughout this week, you can go and vote for your favorite startup, your favorite idea through that. You can also visit the booths over here, the infrastructure zone, which is right across over here. You can go to the AEM main booth. You can see the interactive videos. You can really learn a lot more about these companies. The results will be announced via social media through the ConExpo, ConAg social media account. So stay tuned for that. And all week long, this stage is going to have some amazing people coming up and talking about everything from mobility to smart cities to technology integration. There are a whole bunch of incredible talks that you're going to hear over here. So go and learn them. And then your mobile apps. Consult them, look at the program guides to see what's going on so you can participate in it. So now the question is that I think all of us here understand the need for infrastructure evolution. We get it. We understand it has to be done. But what do we focus on first? This is something that AEM has been doing. AEM has been doing the work necessary to start answering the questions as to where do we start. Let's have a look.
I think that infrastructure has to be redefined.
Somebody has to start moving the needle on a long-term vision for infrastructure. By 2050, the world population will have grown to 9.6 billion people. So how does the US community plan on feeding a world population of that size using our current infrastructure system?
Infrastructure starts with the courage to make a difference.
Making a difference. It begins with a conversation and a call for ideas. AEM's Infrastructure Vision 2050 sparked a conversation in Washington and across our nation. We took the pulse of the people who know infrastructure is important. Locks, dams, pipelines, waterways, electric grid modernization, and smart infrastructure. There's passion and purpose, a commitment to leapfrog into the future with solutions, not just for critical fixes, but also for breakthrough technology and revolutionary ideas. AEM invested in research to create a new vision for transportation infrastructure, a critical look at today and the road ahead for the next 35 years. AEM challenged visionaries to create ideas that will help meet the changing freight, food, and energy needs of a growing population. This is AEM. We are infrastructure advocacy in action, and we're working on what's next.
So, you know, AEM has taken the initiative to put some amazing ideas on stage. What they showed you most importantly was that by reaching out beyond the people in your company, normally what an industry group would do is that it would hire a management consultant to come in and advise them. It would get people from within the industry to come up with ideas, and it would be more of the same. Frankly, that's what happens in large companies, and that's how innovation works within large companies. But the experiment over here that they did, and I know they spent a year or two on this, and they've invested massively in this. I've got to take my hat off to them for being such a visionary here of including all these external ideas. So what they did was that they challenged entrepreneurs all over the world to come up with crazy ideas, good ideas. I mean, let me stop using the word crazy here because everyone starts looking at me as if I'm crazy when I say crazy ideas. So what they decided to do was that they decided to reach out and get ideas from all over the world. We had 5 amazing ideas here. You know, and there's no reason why they require public-private partnerships. Any of your companies could take one of these ideas, hire some young entrepreneurs and old entrepreneurs, experienced people, inexperienced people, and start the brainstorming session and try them out. That's how innovation works now, is that you get people from different industries with different ideas, different mindsets from different countries, all together, they brainstorm, and the sparks fly. You come up with all sorts of ideas, and then you test them out. The majority of them won't work out. But you know something? 1 or 2 out of 10 will work out. And that's how Silicon Valley works. That's how we build these billion-dollar companies there. And that's why the most valuable companies in the world are now in the tech industry in Silicon Valley, because we experiment with ideas and we reach outside our domains to come up with solutions that can transform the world. That's what I encourage you folks to do. Learn from what AEM did here and do it yourself. I think our judges should be done by now. I mean, are they ready to come back on stage? Yes? No? All right, so the finalists, come on. You guys come up here first. We want you back. So, are you nervous, my friend?
I'm very, very nervous.
No, what do you folks think of each other's inventions? Let me put you on the spot.
I personally think we've got 5 winners. So.
Right. No, but if you were a judge, who would you pick? Okay. You can't pick yourself. See, I'm putting them on the spot here. Let them sweat like our judges are sweating.
Where's Michael, by the way?
What's that?
Where's Michael? We're missing a contestant.
That's okay.
All right, we have our number.
We'll find him.
We'll find him.
With 397.
All right, how about you folks? What do you think?
Okay, we can't pick ourselves.
You can't pick yourself, no.
God damn it. Let's see. I really like Michael's idea, actually, because it's something that's, I believe it's incorporates autonomous vehicles, which I really believe is what the future holds. And yeah, it's very exciting and it's very easy to implement because it's a rather cheap solution and it can be applied to cities of different scales.
I think it's also about congestion management as well, which is really nice because that's something we're going to have to start dealing with in the future. And we're going to have to find ways to circumvent induced demand. We can't build our way out of the congestion crisis, right?
You want to comment?
Oh, I didn't watch anybody's presentation, so I guess mine was the best.
Michael, what do you think? I mean, coming to America, this is the first time you've been to America, right?
Yes.
What's your experience been like coming to here? Did you imagine that the roads would be the way they are? Did you imagine that we would have this infrastructure?
Actually, it's what I imagined. I expected better roads than what we have back in Uganda, but actually they are big. They have big roads, but it is not up the standard I expected. Yeah.
So what's the most amazing thing you've seen in America?
The people.
Right.
1,000 miles away,
a bunch of terrorists
I
over
feel
here.
like home. Yeah.
Well, you didn't expect the people to be so nice or what? What's going on here?
The people are so good, they are welcoming.
Right.
I feel like home.
Oh, really, that's good.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Okay, I want to invite some special guests on stage. I want to invite the president of Doosan Bobcat North America and ConExpo, ConAg Vice Chair, Rich Goldsberry. And president of CLASS and Americas and AEM's Infrastructure Vision 2050 Chair, Leif Magnusson. Welcome. You know, our judges took a lot more time out there than we expected. I wonder if they got into a fist fight or something. You know, I didn't get to see what was happening behind the scenes, but I'm sure it wasn't easy. Let's now learn who the winners are. Do we get these envelopes? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We saw what happened at the Academy Awards, right? All right. In third place for $15,000 is Kevin Liu. Congratulations, my friend. No, take some photos with them. Come on, Kevin. Kevin, you get a photo op with them. Yeah, you're famous. Now, Paul doesn't work for PricewaterhouseCoopers, does he? Number 2 is Peter Mueller.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations, my friend. And the winner is La La Land. No, not really. The winner is Bayo Chan and Anthony Bars. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's have one more applause for our finalists. These people were just amazing. All of them were. Good work, my friends. Thank you for coming all this way.
Good job.
Thank you.
Ah. All right. Congratulations. You realize that increases the likelihood that my carpool lane is going to go.
Good job.
Right? Yes. But you promise I can take my Tesla on there at 120 miles an hour?
Yes, we promise.
All right, good. I've been dying to take it that fast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like everyone to explore the tech experience next. I mean, get hands-on with the intuitive equipment in a connected intelligence at tomorrow's smart job site. Discover the innovations that will revitalize structures and systems of society's framework, and test the hands-on VR technology, gamified learning, and try out the connected job wearables. By the way, I was there playing around with HoloLens. It's really cool when you go there and you start playing, putting these virtual reality headsets on and playing with it. And again, thank you on behalf of everyone who took part in the IB 2050 Challenge. Thank you, and thank you to AEM, and thank you to all of us, all of you for being here. This is just an amazing thing, and I hope wonderful, amazing things come from this. Thank you, folks. Congrats.